Hi, I'm Jordan Stone with The Good Ride, and I'm putting my big girl pants on to tackle the big mountain boards of Weston. Today what I've got is the Weston Dream Machine here and a 149. Pros of this board, it's super stable underfoot. It has a great turning experience on a variety of conditions, but it is aggressive. It's meant to charge through steeper terrain. Because of that aggressiveness, that camber can feel a little catchy, and it really does feel like a lot of board under your feet. It's actually a pretty heavy board. I tested this board on multiple days in a variety of conditions in the Pacific Northwest. The conditions included groomed, tracked out powder, and packed powder and pockets of deep snow. I rode the board with a directional stance of positive 18, negative 9, set at a reference stance of 19.5, with my Trilogy bindings in a size medium from Union, and my Dialogue boots in a size men's 7, so a women's 8. I rode this in sequence with the Weston Narnia. I rode it on the same day and then actually rode them on 2 separate days in similar conditions. I was able to get on a 149. This board is recommended for people from about 105 to 165 pounds. This is available in a pretty wide range because it's a unisex board. Lowest is a 143 all the way up to a 164 wide. If you are on that side, on your bigger scale, please look out for my fellow reviewers' reviews. We have a big boy review and we've got a standard men's review showing their opinion of this on a larger scale. Something unique about the Dream Machine and a lot of the Weston boards is they do have a pretty significant waist width to accommodate a variety of sizes. This 149 here has a 24.2. Here at The Good Ride, we get all of our boards from the distributors, but we are not paid to review these. These are honest, subjective reviews from normal, average people. This is all made possible by our sponsors, thanks to Blower out of Big Bear. Blower has been around selling snowboards almost as long as I've been on this planet. So I really appreciate any company that is going to be core, true to the bone when it comes to snowboarding. They have been supporting snowboarders longer than most resorts have been supporting snowboarders, so they are a great fit for us. So please go out there, support them. They have a wonderful online shop and in-store brick and mortar shop. The Weston Dream Machine is a directional twin shape. What this means is that if you take this board, you cut it directly down the middle and fold it in half, it's going to have the same nose and same tail. They're going to mirror each other. However, they did set back the stance about 20 millimeters. So with that 20 millimeters, it's going to actually feel very centered because of that centered side cut, but it have a little bit of directional feel. Now, if you took this and had it at reference stance, you get about 0.75 inches of extra nose at a reference stance of 19.5. Now, if you set it all the way back to the furthest inserts, it actually increases that nose length by about 2 inches. This gives you a little bit more variety as far as powder conditions, but it really is designed to be a twin board. So the Weston Dream Machine does have significant camber past the inserts with rocker in the tip and tail. You can see here that it comes to about here, so almost full tip to tail camber with a little rocker in the nose and tail. With this, it gives it 113.4 centimeters of effective edge. When skating or riding flat based on cat tracks, the camber gave the board a little bit of a catchy feeling. Once on steeper terrain and with faster speeds, the board feels more stable off edge. The steeper the terrain, the better this board felt. Weight and power or force for more technical terrain was really needed to manipulate this board. For this reason, I recommend this board for advanced to expert riders or intermediate riders looking to go into steeper, more technical terrain, or that have the skill set to be able to produce the power necessary to flex through that camber profile. So let's talk about edge hold on the Weston. There is no visible edge disruption, and according to the specs, there is slight variations in the side cut. In softer conditions, the edge hold felt okay. It would give the feeling of locking in slightly. However, once on hard conditions or on kind of dust and crust that I experienced, the edge hold kind of disappeared. There were many instances of needing to stay on edge through trees and traverses in kind of consequential areas and environments where the edge gave way and I'd have to react to get back on the right path. Increasing in speed and vertical allowed the board to flex better and help me to get the edge to grab on. Even during lower angle turns, I noticed that the board tended to skid through turns instead of flexing all the way through the turn. Once again, steeper terrain improved the turning experience on this board.
All right, Weston Dream Machine, let's talk about the flex on this board. Right here in the middle, you're gonna see a pretty hefty little flex, and then to show you that pop, which is really nice, giving you flex into that pop. If we come down here to the tail, you're gonna see that little bit softer, but also those carbon stringers in there. We flip this baby around. Also gonna have a similar flex in that tail or nose as well. So those carbon stringers are in the tip and tail. Again, middle of the board. It's going to be a little stiffer than that tip and tail due to the carbon stringers, or feel stiffer due to those stringers in the tip and tail.
I was very pleased with the way the Dream Machine and really all of the Weston boards I got on were able to maneuver and charge through tracked out and uneven snow. The board has incredibly damp feeling that helped keep the board stable even as the terrain shattered. Now, however, the board is set as a twin, and when the snow switched from packed to deep, it felt a little divey. This can happen with a camper board, and especially a twin board, where I said there's not a lot of nose, especially at reference stances, which is where I rode this board. The weight definitely needed to be transferred to the back leg to keep the board above deeper, heavier snow. This board felt capable of handling high speeds. However, my lack of confidence in the edge hold and that kind of squirrely feeling that it would happen from time to time when I was flat basing made me avoid straight bombing on this board. It was fast to turn, it held speed while on edge, and it absorbed bumps and chatter on steep terrain, so I still consider this a very fast board. The Weston Dream Machine is a directional twin with a side cut, a variable side cut, of 7.4 to 7.25. That's a really mid side cut radius that allows you to do quite a bit. It also is a camber board with a stiff construction. This lent itself to great turning, but it required some work. On lower angle green and blue runs, I found myself in the power stance, really having to throw my weight into each turn. It was still fun and turned quickly and definitely responded, but fatigue would play a role in that experience. Now, when I took this to steeper terrain where I could play around with the turning radius, the board shined much brighter. When you add the force from riding steep terrain, this board responded quicker and with less effort. I was able to do quick turns through trees as well as longer laid out carving turns. The Weston Dream Machine comes equipped with a centered base. This is really a performance base. We were given this as a demo board with a factory wax. As is, it lacked a little bit of base glide. However, with weather-specific wax, the base glide improved significantly. As is with most centered boards or centered bases, this board will definitely benefit from regular weather-specific wax and professional tuning from time to time. Remember, it is a tool, you need to take care of that tool. So I was able to get this board on some new snow of about 4 to 6 inches with spots even deeper. It handled okay, given that it is a twin shape. The camber profile can feel a little divey at times, but the little bit of rocker in the tip and tail actually helped lift the nose and keep it above the low levels of new snow. When navigating through trees, it maintained an enjoyable turning experience, but still required some speed. It was harder to maneuver when the trees became dense and required me to slow down when transferring into lower angle slopes. If you're looking for a powder board, this might not be it, but Weston also has the Narnia, what I had a chance to get on, and that definitely outperformed the Dream Machine in variable powder conditions. Given the aggressive nature of this board, it's hard to imagine it in a park setting. However, it is a twin shape that rides really well switch. It also has great pop when you're able to power through the camber and get into the meat of the board. It popped well off of edge and off flat base. It just took some serious effort, especially off of flat ground, without very much momentum. With that said, the board could perform well in park settings for advanced and expert riders who like to throw a lot of power into their tricks. Overall, the Dream Machine from Weston is a great representation of what kind of board you need in the big mountains of Colorado. It is aggressive in nature, stable underfoot, and handles steeps like a dream. The turning experience is fun and only improves as the riders step up to harder terrain. It is, however, limited in edge hold and really needs to be ridden on softer terrain where the edge can dig in. As is with any advanced board, the board requires regular waxing and tuning to keep performing at its capacity. The expert rider that is looking for that hard charging board but doesn't want to veer too far away from the classic positive camber and twin shape will find nothing but satisfaction in the Dream Machine. Please support us by clicking the likes, commenting, and if you need advice, follow the link. I am happy to help in any way I possibly can.